Welcome back everyone, Dylan here with a new video on how to make your letters three-dimensional. Let's get started. In today's video, I will be using some of the same techniques that I taught in my drop shadow video, so if you haven't watched that one, go watch it first. No, seriously, pause this and go watch it. I'm also just desperate for views, so... Anyways, go ahead and get a word or phrase drawn out first. I recommend learning this with block letters as it makes the core concepts a lot easier to grasp. For those wondering, I'm using the letter builder from Ian Barnard and Stefan Kuntz. I'll leave a link to their store in the description. This is not required by any means, but as you can probably tell, it makes block letters less challenging. For everything I'm doing in this video, I'll be using the dry ink brush in the inking section of your Procreate brush library. I'm using a slightly modified version, but the original will work just as fine. Now let's watch me draw out these letters for the next 10 minutes. Yeah, right! Time lapse! Once you have your word or phrase drawn, let's add a bottom layer that will be used as the backside of our 3D letters. Just duplicate the layer with your letters on it and offset it. Now you will need to erase the parts of the letters from the bottom layer that should be blocked by the top layer of letters. I do want to make a note here that you can also just color in the top layer of your letters to block out the bottom layer. I always just end up playing with colors so much that I prefer this method. Ironically, I do end up coloring in the top layer in this video, so shame on me for not thinking ahead. Or maybe I'm just going through the extra work to make sure you get educated on all of the options. Alright, once you have both layers ready, just connect all of the corners to each other. This is why block letters make this so easy, although it can be done with any style. Here's a pro tip if you don't know it already. In Procreate, you can draw a line and just hold the pen steady at the end of your line and it will automatically snap it straight. This is obviously nice to use for making all of the corner connections on these letters. Now let's create a layer at the very bottom that we will use to add some color to the letters. This layer should be at the bottom so that when we color in the letters, you don't overlap the outlined portions. Next, we need to grab two colors to use as the light and dark parts of the word. Don't overcomplicate this because you can always change it later, which is another great reason to keep your fill colors in a separate layer. This can obviously get much more complicated, but for the sake of ease, let's just say our light source is at the top right. So use the light color to fill any of the top or right facing sides and the dark color to fill any of the bottom or left facing sides of your letters. Another quick note here. I know that there are ways to quickly fill in areas with Procreate, but I prefer to fill in the color by hand because it can bring out some of the texture of your brush. Off camera, I ended up filling in the top layer of my letters white because I wanted to add a background color that wouldn't show through my letters. As a final step, I wanted to add some more texture to the letters, so I created a layer on the very top and added a few small lines and dots to give it some character. Now, you could leave it here and it has already given your letters a lot of depth, but I always like to add one more step to make it pop a little bit more, so I'm going to quickly show you how to add a long shadow to this. First, you're going to want to group every layer that you have made so far. Once you have everything grouped, duplicate that group, flatten it, turn it black, and then offset it to the bottom left because remember our light source is in the top right. Very similarly to making the 3D letters, you're going to again connect the corners of the bottom shadow layer to the top letters. The big difference here is that you're going to be filling in those spaces instead of leaving it as just an outline. Once that is done, just reduce the opacity of that shadow layer to something around 30%. And that's it. Now you have letters that have both physical and emotional depth to them. And with that being said, now it's your turn. Try using the 3D method in something you're working on, whether it be a lettering piece or something else, and show me. You can tag me on Twitter or Instagram and I'll share what you come up with. Also, please comment below if there's anything you want help with, have questions on, or have something you would like me to cover in a future video. I am more than happy to coach you through the process and support the expansion of your skill. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time.